So welcome everyone. As acting chair of LDBC, I would like to say a warm welcome to the 16th LDBC Technical User Community Meeting here in Seattle. It's great to see all of you here in person, and also welcome to our remote guests on Zoom. So as a reminder, LDBC stands for Linked Data Benchmark Council, linked data, because it's not just benchmarks for property graph, but also for RDF data sets. LDBC is a non-profit organization registered in the UK. LDBC used to focus on benchmarking and still does primarily, but more recently, there's also a focus on providing input to standard graph query languages and also promoting use of those standard languages. And I'm mainly talking about GPL and SQL standards. LDBC consists of members from both industry, which are either regular or sponsor members, as well as members from academia, which are either institutions or individual members. And over the past 12 months, 5 new company and academic members joined LDBC. So we have Vsauce, Relational AI, Beijing, Volcano Engine, Alibaba Damo Academy, and Zhejiang Lab. So welcome to these new members. Great to have you on board. There are now in total 23 organizations that are member of LDBC. So there's 3 sponsor companies. These are Ant Group, Beijing Volcano Engine, and Oracle Labs. And then there are 17 regular companies and 3 academic institutions, which are here on this slide here. So we have Alibaba Damo Academy, ArongoDB, AWS, CreateLink, Intel, JCC Consulting, Katana Graph, MemGraph, Nebula Graph, Neo4j, OntoText, Pometry, Relational AI, Sparsity, StarGraph, TigerGraph, and OPIPA. And then there's 3 institutions, Birkbeck University of London, Ford, and Zhejiang Lab. And there's over 65 individual members and contributors. Here we see a timeline of LDBC. So it started off end of 2012 as an EU project, and then in 2015 became a non-profit organization. You see here a number of papers that have been published over the time. So a bunch of these are about benchmarks, and about the same time when these papers came out, the corresponding benchmark specification was also published. So we have the social network benchmark, interactive workload, semantic publishing benchmark, graph analytics, and more recently the social network benchmark BI workload. And there's also language or schema papers, G-core, PG keys. And about once a year, LDBC organizes a TUC meeting like this one. So LDBC has a board of directors. I'm honored to be acting chair. Here, Alistair Green, again, he, over the past 12 months, did a great amount of work to keep LDBC running. Xipeng Xi is one of the main people behind the new LDBC financial benchmark. Peter Bond's the person who started it all. And then Gabez Anyos, one of the main developers behind social network benchmark and many other things related to LDBC. And then Judy Bingham, company secretary and treasurer, who always makes sure to keep our balances in check. So yesterday we had a meeting with this board, and as you notice, I'm acting chair, not chair. So the idea was always that it would be a temporary. So initially, Peter Bonds has been chair for since the beginning. He's currently on a sabbatical, although he will still be joining here today. But even when he comes back, the idea would be that now that LDBC is more established, that the role of chair would be more taken up by members of LDBC. So I'm currently, but the idea is that it would be more a rotating schedule. So we will probably be reaching out to some of the members here for future to fulfill this role in the future. And this is not something that takes a full-time, this is not a full-time job. This is more like a couple hours a week max, because really the hard work is done inside the working groups. and the chair does not have to actively participate necessarily in the working group, but just more have to oversee everything. So this is just a heads up how we plan to organize the board of directors in the future. So I have two slides with progress over the past 12 months. This first slide is about specific benchmarks. So we have the social network benchmark interactive workload, and for this, there have been new audits over the past 12 months. So there's audits by Ant Group with their graph product TU graph, and there's audits by Ontotext with their graph product GraphDB. And then SMB Interactive 2.0, this is an implementation that makes LDBC more scalable so that we can generate graphs that are much larger in size, I think like terabytes up to like 30 something terabytes. And then we have the social network business intelligence workload. After many years of development and improvement, this is now accepted as official workload. And there was a first successful audit by TigerGraph. So I would like to congratulate Ant Group, Ontotext, and TigerGraph with these successful audits. And then, as already mentioned, the financial benchmark is a new LDBC benchmark, and it's expected to be adopted very soon, any moment now.
It was adopted this morning.
It was adopted this morning, so thanks, Gabor. And then other progress in the last 12 months. So there has been an organizational restructuring. Alistair Green is going to present about this later this morning. But what happened is that the old steering committee became the board of directors, and the board of directors became the members policy council. So one reason is that British law only allows for up to 25 board of directors, and as LDBC became bigger and more organizations joined, this became a serious issue. But there were more problems with the old structure, and I think Alistair will go into detail. In that same presentation, he will also introduce the new fair use policy, which is basically a set of rules that describes when something can be published as an LDBC benchmark result or not. And then we have, there's also a new working group focusing on schema language for property graphs. There will be a presentation about this tomorrow. So see, there's two new standards for graphs, for property graphs specifically. SQL PGQ, which is an extension of SQL for property graphs. And the first version has now officially been published beginning of this month. And then there's GQL, which is a standalone graph query language. And the first version is expected to be published early next year. So there's many reasons to join LDBC. For example, to be part of a leading group of experts and exchange information, but also through the liaison that LDBC has with the ISO working group that standardizes these languages, you can get access to standard drafts of these standard draft documents. And for GQL, that means V1, and for SQL PGQ, that would mean the next V2, because the way to get the V1 is through the official ISO website, which requires a fee, which is, yeah, right. And then finally, there's there's some discussion. We would like to get your feedback about this one. So one problem has been that right now LDBC follows TPC's model and requires that products can only be audited if they support 24/7 support with a 4-hour response time. Otherwise, the system cannot be audited, and this does give some problems because not some members of LDBC, they have different models and they don't necessarily provide 24/7 support. And since LDBC is based on cost, so we need to know how much does it cost to run this set of queries. We need to include also the maintenance fee in the total cost. And so systems that don't provide 24/7 support, for example, for TPC, simply cannot publish results. But we want to be a little bit more open. So we propose these 3 tiers, and happy to get feedback on this enterprise standard community. So enterprise would correspond to the TPC and the current LDBC model, but then we would, for example, also allow community so that systems don't necessarily have to provide this kind of support, and they are able to provide 0 maintenance fee. But then when we publish these audits reports, we will make clear which tier they belong to, so that people can still fairly compare things fairly.